It's an awesome day to you, my lovely, smart, beautiful real estate investors, wherever you're watching me across the world. My name is Adejare, and I'm super, super delighted to welcome you to another educative and insightful episode of Property Matter. Property Matter is a real estate issue talk show where we expose you to everything you need to know about real estate investment in Lagos, Nigeria. We have shared an insightful tips on how to identify a fraudulent real estate developer. We've also shared insightful tips on how you can identify a fraudulent and a dubious real estate transaction. We've given real estate investment tips, guides, more importantly, important factors that you must put into consideration whenever you're doing a real estate investment in Lagos, Nigeria. So after watching this particular episode, you are free to check any of our playlists, and I can assure you that you are going to find value. On today's episode, I'm going to be doing an important discussion on why we have abandoned projects, not only on the highland, but across Ibeju, Lekki, and the Lekki axis. This particular topic has been on the mind of several real estate investors. Many of them have expressed their concern, and I really want to explain and give, an insightful information on what must have resulted to several abandoned projects and what may also lead to more abandoned projects as I proceed. Now, one of the things you must understand basically is that it is just recently that the Lagos state government is beginning to show interest on how they want to regulate the real estate sector in Nigeria. First of all, I would say it's a welcome development, and I give kudos to every Lagos state government officials who have deemed it fit for real estate developers to obtain all the necessary approvals that will ensure that real estate activities is properly regulated and the interest of real estate investors both at home and also in diaspora are properly protected. I was speaking with a real estate investor a while ago, and he was explaining to me how a particular real estate development company collected the money from him for a building project, and it's been 4 years that building has not, been completed. He is not just the only person that is currently experience this kind of unfortunate circumstances. It is disheartening and very difficult for real estate practitioners to defend the activities of these real estate developers because most of them have not lived up to the expectations that they have gotten. And when you look at the pattern of operation, you will understand that most of them are following the same trend. One important thing that you must understand basically is that before government started showing interest in regulating activities of real estate development companies in Lagos, Nigeria, a whole lot of things have obviously gotten out of hand. And there was a particular time where I did a video showing abandoned projects, majorly in the Folu and of course the Okiogun axis of Ibeju, Lekki. In that video, I explained some important things, and one of the things that real estate investors need to understand. And I also mentioned repeatedly that it is quite unfortunate that some of these real estate development companies are following a similar pattern of what was used as at that time in selling Ibeju, Lekki to sell Ekpe. A whole lot of real estate investors understood that perfectly, while others are still making the same mistakes. Now, the rate of abandoned project as at 2021 was 33%, and it increased drastically from 23% in 2021 to 60% in 2024. And with the rise of more real estate companies coming into the scene, it has been projected that abandoned projects in Ibeju, Lekki and Ekpe axis may increase drastically to either 80 or 90%. So why do we have abandoned projects scattered across Lagos? And what do we need to do for us not to fall into victims of buying properties that may likely be abandoned? Number one is in the area of what? Greed and mismanagement. Today, a whole lot of real estate investors have come online to express their grievances, and some today have not been allocated to the plot of land they have paid for. When you visit some of these estates that were sold in 2020, 2021, in fact, some that were even sold last year, if they should tell you that this is what you paid 5 million for, This was what you paid 3 million for. This was what you paid 2 million for. Today, you'll be disappointed that how on earth did I make this kind of payment? So you need to understand that when people are going into real estate development, many of them are not going there because they care or because they want to deliver good value. In the area of mismanagement, many of these real estate developers know that some of the properties they are selling does not have a title, and there was a need for them to do the needful. Now, because of the fact that many of them had the intention of shifting the funds to other projects, they have failed to tell real estate investors the obvious truth. And what is the obvious truth? The obvious truth basically is that until your land has some documents, you are still under risk of losing such properties to government. In the area of mismanagement, we have cases of overselling. Some people have sold more than what they have. And when you talk about all of these things, a lot of real estate investors think that we are giving an obvious reality of what is going on in this industry. So as long as all these things begins and continues to happen, we have several abandoned projects, and we will still continue to have them until this issue of greed and mismanagement is adequately resolved. Number 2 is in the area of economic instability. Realistically, we all witnessed how the dollar was appreciating at a faster rate to the naira. We understood the economic implications on that and how the prices of building materials skyrocketed. Now, this affected a whole lot of real estate developers, more importantly, those who are actively in the off-plan sector. However, it is very important to note that before this economic instability happened, a whole lot of real estate development companies have been doing projects that they ought to have completed before this economic instability happened, or while we start having inflations that were affecting the prices of building materials. But the obvious truth basically was that as long as this economic instability, the inflation thing is not adequately addressed, it will still continue to affect the development of some properties. But it is important to note basically that if the case of this economic instability is not affected, a lot of real estate development companies use it as an excuse for them not to develop and deliver what they have promised. But a real estate investor must understand that in this case of economic instability, you will pay more. However, when some people increase their prices, it is in accordance to the obvious economic reality that we have for that time. While some we use it as an avenue to exploit and take your hard-earned money. The most important thing basically is that as long as this economic instability is not checked, we will continue to have abandoned projects across the nation. And that is why I usually emphasize and encourage real estate investors. More importantly, if you are doing an off-plan, don't do an off-plan project that exceeds 1 year because of this. Now, the third factor that has affected and that has resulted to having several abandoned projects in Lagos basically is poor regulation from government. Now, before Lagos State government started calling the attention of real estate developers to seek the necessary approvals, both of the approvals were the layout, the fencing permits, and other important documents, which I will not be applying because I have a video on that already. But the most important thing is that before government started enforcing these rules and these regulations, a whole lot of things have gotten way out of hand. What do I mean by that? A lot of people have bought committed properties, properties that shouldn't have been sold in the first place. A lot of people have bought properties that it has become, in fact, it will take a miracle for you to process any form of documents on them. And that is the obvious truth. Now, this approval will expose outstanding secrets that most real estate investors are not aware. Now, I gave an instance when I started this video that we have so many people in the industry, and many people are seeing real estate as an opportunity for them to have their own share of the national cake. What exactly do I mean by that? The process of acquiring a property in Nigeria is very easy, and the process of getting marketers and other inexperienced real estate practitioners to sell the property that shouldn't have been sold in the first place is equally easy. However, poor regulations of the sector has allowed unscrupulous elements, corrupt individuals to sell properties that shouldn't have been sold in the first place. Now, with this regulation, I believe that some things and some measures will be introduced, but we hope that things will not get out of hand before these regulations are properly enforced. The last is in the place of what? Unhealthy rivalry. Now, in the real estate industry, what is used to measure if you have or if you are a powerful real estate development companies are the number of estates that you have at your disposal. A gigantic real estate developer is the one that is handling multiple projects at different patterns. Having real estate development in different parts of the state. In fact, a whole lot of real estate development companies are going to as far as Ibadan, Abeokuta, Asaba. In fact, some are even selling in Ilorin and in Osun State, which obviously is a good thing, because sometimes you are exposing or you are giving investors the opportunity to own lands in their hometown. However, unhealthy rivalry started when some real estate development companies started having this notion that the more real estate you have, the more powerful you become. The more powerful you become, the more respected you'll be, adequately addressed, in the society. So unhealthy rivalry has encouraged a whole lot of real estate development companies to buy land that ought to have not been purchased in the first place. So it's not about the safety of the landed property that you have. It's about the number of estates that are under your control. And the number of estates that are under your control determines the kind of respect that people will accord you. So today we have real estate development companies fighting over some parcels of land. We have in a place where we have more than 10 real estate development companies that are developing at a close intervals. Now, if they were developing that place at close interval and they're putting in necessary facilities, that would have been a good state. But many people are just buying to sell and to abandon. They're buying to sell and to abandon. And this unhealthy rivalry has made them to encroach on government land. So there was a particular time I went for a property inspection, and from that K2 Ekpe roundabout, we drove for 30 minutes before we got to where this particular landed property is. To my greater surprise, I saw a whole lot of real estate development companies with their own signboards. And I asked myself a question. So it has gotten to this point that anywhere right now where there is land, it doesn't matter whether the place is far, it doesn't matter whether the place is wet, it doesn't matter whether the place has good title. In as much as I can erect my signboard and show that I'm in control of this land and I'm selling this land, regardless of what government is saying or what the title is saying, I just want to own land. So unhealthy rivalry among real estate development companies are one of the reasons why we're having abandoned projects. Some are just selling and they're abandoning. They're selling, they're abandoning. So as a real estate investor, you need to look at all these obvious signs of dangers. And this is why you need to consult with us. Now, the reason why you need to consult with us basically is that with our vast level of experience and with our team of professionals, when I talk about professionals, those who are doing the property verification, the lawyers, those who are doing the town planning information, the zoning information, those who are doing the registered survey, because there are people who process a registered survey, those who are doing the title check, and those who are cross-checking all the necessary facilities that will ensure that you're not buying the real estate, the wrong property. This is the reason why you need to work with a professional real estate firm just like us. So this is where I'm going to drop to this curtain of property matters. Now you have seen the obvious reasons why we have abandoned projects across Lagos, Nigeria, and why we'll keep having abandoned projects. Until I come your way in another insightful, educative, and of course informative session of property matters, I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now. Thank you. God bless you.